I now would like to recognize, oh, that's it for the, no, we have Ms. Sablan. I would now like to recognize you for your testimony, and you have 5 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, honorable chairs, ranking members, and members of the United States House of Representatives. We are very heartened that the Committee of Jurisdiction over the Medicaid program is holding this hearing, and that Chairman Pallone recognized that the U.S. territories are on the verge of a humanitarian and financial crisis if Congress doesn't act swiftly to increase their Medicaid funding for the next year and beyond. That is the plain truth. The Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands is indeed on the verge of a humanitarian healthcare system and financial crisis because of the differences in the way the law treats territories versus the states. Avoiding the crisis will require an act of Congress because the difficulties are statutory. Before proceeding, I would like to express our deepest appreciation to Congress for the passage and enactment of H.R. 2157 that included Medicaid disaster assistance for the Sinai resulting from the Category 5 Super Typhoon Yutu. While recovery efforts were initiated, a slower onset disaster was in the making. Throughout 2018, Sinai was sliding to the edge of the Medicaid fiscal cliff because the temporary funding was running out and ends fiscal year 2019. In March 2019, we reached and fell off the cliff with a complete exhaustion of Medicaid funds from the Section 1108 budget caps, temporary increases by Section 2005 of the Affordable Care Act, and small amount from Section 1323 of the ACA. While it is complete free fall, we fortunately landed on a ledge with the passage of H.R. 2157. The ledge of the Medicaid fiscal cliff is tenuous, and that ledge will crumble on September 30 of this year. As of October 1, we will only have limited Section 1108, CHIP, and EAP funding. We will not have sufficient funding to support all mandatory services and many critical optional services. For example, medications and surgery will be severely cut or eliminated. The physical crisis in the Sinai will be made worse by adding to the debt obligation as well. The health system will be crippled because providers will stop taking Medicaid beneficiaries. There will be substantially more uninsured patients because the Medicaid program will effectively be ended. CACC will not have funds for drugs, laboratory reagents, and other supplies. Frustrated clinicians and nurses may once again leave the CNMI, and all of this will affect the health of the whole population. The U.S. citizens of the CNMI are huddling on the ledge today, but hope Congress will provide a path up the cliff and enable the territories to avert disaster. As shown in written testimony, there are 16,206 U.S. citizen beneficiaries enrolled in the Medicaid and CHIP programs today, or about 49% of the total U.S. citizens in the Sinai. The median household income for a Sinai family was less than 1/3 of the rest of the United States. And more will fall on the ledge because the Sinai government just instituted austerity measures where government employees have been placed on a mandatory reduced work schedule. There are two well-understood major causes of fiscal cliff, the Section 1108 budget caps and the FMAP. Both require acts of Congress to fix. First, Section 1108, the territories receive a budget appropriation under Section 1108. The budget caps were established decades ago and do not bear any relationship to the actual cost of healthcare today in the Sinai today. The ACA recognized the problem and provided a temporary increase of $100 million amount to be expended from 2011 to 2019. During this period, the Sinai Medicaid was able to increase eligibility and add optional services. In FY20, the Sinai total Medicaid expenses and IBNR was around $71 million. Compared to the total of FY 2020, CMS allotted funds that the shortfall will be about $48 million. Second, the FMAP for the territories is an artificial percentage, unlike the FMAP for states, that is calculated based on per capita income relative to the national average. Although Sinai has much lower per capita income than most of all states, it must use a fixed and inequitable FMAP percentage. That makes it impossible for the Sinai government to fully fund the Sinai share. Finally, before closing my oral statement, I would like to say that the CNMI is very well aware of the requirements for submitting data to the Transform Medicaid Statistical Information System, which is the TMSIS, and the establishment of a Medicaid fraud control unit. We fully committed to do so and have demonstrated our commitment and progress in our written testimony. In closing, the U.S. citizen Medicaid beneficiaries in the CNMI are clearly on the verge of a humanitarian and financial crisis if Congress doesn't act swiftly to increase their Medicaid funding for the next year and beyond. The CNMI is in desperate and dire situation and huddling on the edge. We are humbly pleading Congress to eliminate the Section 1108 caps and provide us equal treatment with all states, and that Congress apply the FMAP percentage using the same method for the states. Thank you once more time for the time in hearing our issues.
Thank you. The gentlewoman's time has expired.